This is Listening with Franklin Livingston, where lives are transformed through the power of listening, understanding, and creating room for healing within individuals, communities, and the world at large.
Let me ask a hypothetical question.
Okay.
Since you are connected to now faith-based,
Yeah.
say in those years, you had a very close connection with a church, or at home it was very religious. Well, not in a negative way, because religious, the term is also negative.
Yeah.
More say that it was very biblical or very prayer based or surrender based, you would have been different.
I think so, sure. Because I would have this conviction that what I'm doing is just not right. You know, when you, let me just, for me, for example, when I had that moment in my life, that moment where I said, you know, Jesus, I want to live my life for you. Because, and if you want, I can share that story later, but how I came to know Jesus. But the moment I surrendered, the lights went on. The lights turned on. I'm standing at the front of the church. The pastor's praying for me, and I'm going, oh my! I'm just crying. Oh my God! This is what I've been looking for. Those parties that I went to try to reach this high that I could never reach. This to fill this empty void in me. And I shared this many times. Just at the conference, when we were finished, a bunch of us got together and we were just asking questions. And I don't know how it came. I shared my story, and I always share it that because it was the experience to me when the pastor was praying. We were holding hands. He was praying for me. I go, it went off. This is what I've been looking for. This is that. I felt this weight lift off. When I walked outside the church, everything looked 4K. There was no such thing as 4K back then. But everything looked clear. The sky was blue. The trees were very high definition. You know, it's something happened.
As if your DNA started to just rebuild itself.
Well, I don't know what it was, but it was a
4K. I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, but I mean,
everything was a reset.
Well, to me, looking back, it was some sort of a spiritual rebirth. You know, because I really never thought about God. I remember walking in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, walking downtown. I'm this guy that I got these walls up. Right? This is before that. These walls were up. And I remember people handing me a what they call a tract about Jesus. And I remember looking at it, laughing, ripping up and throwing it away. What do I need Jesus for?
Right.
What do I need Jesus for? You know? But when I first, there's a backstory to this. The people trying to get me, I used to own a VCR and TV repair shop. And it was during the wild. And one Saturday, I walked up, drove in my van on the expressway to go home, and all of a sudden this flood of, this flood of fear, this flood of my hands were shaking. I'm driving and I'm thinking, I think I'm having a heart attack. And it was like somebody just came and turned the light. It just hit me. I went home. I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't sleep. I took a couple of shots of whiskey, whatever it was, sleep. I shared it with my neighbor the next day. I don't know what's going on. You know, maybe it was a panic attack. Maybe it was anxiety. What is that? You know, and then I would have them. Then they invited me to church. And I said, no. One time I said, okay, I'll go. Just to keep it quiet. You know, I went into church and I was so angry. There was people raising their hands. And I'm like, I'm looking at my watch. I want to get out of here. I was angry. We walked out and they want to go. No, I'm not going back ever. I'm never going back. And so, of course, you know, some months went by. They invited me to come back. And again, I said, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'll go back. Then I started listening to the guy at the front speaking. And what he was speaking about, he was talking to me. And I looked did you tell him about me?
Mm.
He goes, I did not tell him about you. He was talking about this Jesus, the Prince of Peace. You have this peace that even sometimes in the storm, you don't understand why you can be still at peace. And I go, I need that in my life. And so when he was speaking, and then when he was finished, he says, does anybody if that connects to whatever word he used, come up to the front, I want to pray with you. And my mind's going, do not go. Because I'm looking, nobody's going. I'm not going. Do not go. But my feet were like, you're going. And there was this battle. And I found myself walking. It was a big church, a lot of people. By myself, walking this long while. I sat in the back, walking this long while to the front. That's when it happened. When he prayed, I just started weeping. I felt the weight lift off. You know, I knew this was what I was looking for. This is what I was looking in the drugs to bring me to this high, to feel this void that never I could never reach until that day. And then that's when I went outside and everything looked different. It did. Everything looked different.
So you start going to school I was going to say age, no, in ninth grade.
Yeah.
And then you decided to do something else, and then you went to college
Yeah, so I worked for a while.
before going to college.
Yeah. I got married before I'm going to college.
But how old were you when you left ninth grade?
Probably about 16, I think.
And then you were partying a lot,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And when you got married, how old were you?
21.
Wow.
21.
And how did you find your ex?
Driving my Mustang down a street with a friend of mine, guy friend of mine. We see these two girls walking. We beeped our horns. They waved. We turned around, went into the little convenience store that they were in, started talking with them, got in our car, started just driving around, got to know them. You know, then we asked for numbers. And I says, I'm like, I'm not taking her number. I'm taking her number. So I told my friend, you're taking her number. Because I wanted this girl here, right? And then he goes, took it. I took her number, just called.
And this was a different kind of phone, not cell phone.
No, it was like on a phone phone.
Yeah.
On a wall, not the cell phone.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, okay,
Yeah.
and yeah, that makes me something. And what attracted you? Like in that, so in that age range, what was important to you to look in a female, in a woman?
Well, I was looking for looks, and then yeah, she was very good looking.
Because that's what your own, now as we call it, struggle was. So you wanted to fit in, you wanted to look like somebody, whoever that was, and you wanted your partner to be the same way too. Because even your story, when I'm visualizing it comes to my mind as if it's a southern country song. Rocky.
Oh, yes, right. And that's
Yeah, classic car. Now it looks classic.
Right?
And then we be
Yep.
and then turn around.
And they wave and we turn around.
Yeah, that's a very song type
Yeah.
video song, music song. So that's great. So, but what did you learn? What was good about it? What was unwise about it? Because there's always an outcome.
Yeah.
And definitely there was something that you might have learned. Well, in the end, you did not.
Get to know the person. So for me, example, okay, she was a good-looking girl, but there's also the person behind the looks, right? And I wanted somebody genuine. I wanted, somebody that's genuine, faithful, outgoing, stuff like that, And, sometimes, maybe most times, when we meet somebody, we put our best foot forward. As you get to know somebody, you start to see the little things that oh, I didn't know that, didn't see that about you at the very beginning. Not that you're, looking, but you want somebody that is open and honest and truthful, even because it sounds kind of contradictory of how I was, right? I want to paint this picture about me, right? I want somebody that was sincere. I wanted somebody that cared, not necessarily for the person you're dating or married to, but just cared about life in general.
And if I were to ask you, while you were in this relationship, were you giving her the same things you were expecting? Were you aware of the fact that either or, I am being cared, I am being generous, I am being forgiving, I am being considerate, or you were the kind of guy you didn't it didn't cross your mind, but you were just expecting it.
I think as we got more into the relationship, I wasn't just looking for a one night stand, that maybe, hey, I think I can love this girl, And as the relationship grew, of course, we got married, right? And when you get married, as we know, when you get married, then you don't go to the bars, you don't drive your Mustang down the street honking at girls and picking them up, right? So yes, did that change me? Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I understand the difference of you're single and now you're married. So single life is totally different from married life, right?
Because you grew up in a very, as I said earlier, a very put together household.
Yeah,
Just, there are people who are still Jews. So they don't live by that principle.
Yeah.
Not everybody's like that.
yes,
But you decided not to because you were aware now I'm married and certain things must change. And you do change.
yes,
But what I'm hearing is the lack in this whole situation was not getting to know the person you're about to marry fully. I mean, you can't really know somebody 100%, but still
right,
to the point where you were making this decision to spend the rest of the life with them.
right.
So that's important.
Or even, I would even go further to say that understanding the culture, like, so yeah, we're all living in Canada, but we all come from different cultures, whether it's Italian, whatever it might be, Lebanese, Spanish. I mean, it doesn't, get to understand their culture and what their culture is all about, and that might give you a better clue of what to expect in a marriage, I guess, and maybe that's something that I didn't do. I said, hey, listen, I know this girl now, we've known each other now for a while, and we're getting married, and that's it.
I can't agree more with you because I think so. I even go further and say subcultures. People can look identical. They can eat the same food, live the same lifestyle. Let's say they all say we are all from Georgia, we have been Westerners, but the school they went to, state school versus a private school, the churches they went to, Roman Catholic Church versus Pentecostal Church, as an example, that shapes you so differently. You might not know until you run into a situation that reveals that truth.
Sure.
And I agree with you that that's something one should be well aware of.
Yes.
Minor little things. Like I remember my cousin, one of my cousins got married to Catholic family, and now both of these people are not well informed and at all, but burning the candle where or not, reading which version of the Bible created a lot of conflict. Now, these are minor things at a surface level, but if you are building a household, then you can talk about like, okay, my kid is going to this school or this school of mass or this. I don't want my kid to get communion at this church because they don't believe in transubstantiation. So I agree with you. That's great. Great learning. Great piece of advice. So if, say, let me throw a hypothetical question. Say in that age range, you were well committed to a particular kind of denomination. Even if it wasn't like denomination ritualistically, say evangelical, Pentecostalism, or you knew where you stood in terms of a biblical belief system. And then you had met the same woman. do you think results might have been different?
Maybe going in there, going into the marriage with that base foundation, maybe, because when I shared the story about the church and going to church, I was married to my ex at that time, and through the years, we knew how to speak Christianese, but sometimes our life wouldn't reflect that. And our life wouldn't reflect that to our children, which matters the most. So they would get a mixed message, you know. And I always, when I talk about this, I'll never talk back about their mom, which I never did. And I own up to the things I've done, and that she owned up to the things that she has done. And I think that played a huge part of not really walking in the faith, you know. And again, unfortunately, my kids have to see maybe mom and dad's life different at home and at the church. And it wasn't always like that. It was when I first accepted, she had that relationship with Jesus before me, and then I shared the story there, and things were good. It was a new life almost, you know. And again, years later, just things just. And can I pinpoint what was that turning point? I don't know. I cannot. I cannot say it was this defining moment is where things kind of went downhill. I can't, you know. I just know that, you know, I knew we're kind of like, if I'm honest, living a lie, you know, and I don't want to live a lie. If I claim to be a Christian, I want my life to reflect that. My private life and my public life, you know, because it's really hard to live totally different than what you profess to be, confess to be, and then leave something that's too hard of a gig to do. That's too much of a load to carry, you know. And plus, he sees anyways, right? You're private, you're public. He sees everything, right? You can fool everybody else around you, but you can't fool him. That is a revelation that I got. You know, it's just like let me use this example. I'm going to go on a diet. I'm going to lose some weight, and I'm doing really good. I go with dinner with people, you know, and I'm having like a salad or with chicken, grilled chicken, and we're having pizza. Yeah, I need to lose some weight, man. Yeah, okay, you know, good for you. I hope you do well. And I'm doing really good. And at nighttime, I go home and I eat brownies and I eat cookies and I'm only fooling myself, right?
Yeah.
And they're wondering, how come you're not losing weight? How come you're gaining weight, right? You know, so I'm not hurting anybody else but myself. You're not going to lose weight, dude, if you keep doing this. You know?
Yeah.
So you got to be true to yourself. You know what you say? If you want to say, yeah, I'm trying to lose weight, okay, well, do that in your private time too then where nobody sees. Don't eat the cookies. Don't eat you know what I mean? You know? And then you're going to reap the benefits of that because you're doing it in public and you continue it when nobody's looking, and then you're going to reap the benefits of that. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.